Russian MiG jets and German Patriot air defense systems stationed in Poland took part in a standoff during a Kremlin provocation aimed at Poland. According to the German daily Bild, citing NATO sources, 4 Russian MiG-31s armed with hypersonic Kinzhal missiles flew over the Baltic Sea dangerously close to Polish airspace. The Polish military activated 2 Patriot systems at the airport in Rzeszów. This effectively scared off the aggressors, who returned to their base. The presence of MiG-31 aircraft near the Polish airspace is a fairly clear signal that the Russians are trying to intimidate NATO forces in Europe by showing that, despite various media reports, they still have the capacity to carry out airstrikes on NATO territory. The Russian provocation allegedly took place on Friday. The actions of the Russian Federation are openly provocative towards Ukraine, NATO and Poland. This is a hybrid war, so unfortunately we must be prepared for the worst. Because the Russian Federation has already shown its true intentions many times. For example, during the assault on the Polish border with Belarus using illegal migrants brought in from the Middle East and Lukashenko's agents, or the massive drone attack on Poland in September, the recent sabotage on the railway which almost led to mass casualties, and now the aggressive behavior of the Russian pilots over the Baltic Sea. Every Russian provocation, whether it is a plane crossing the border, a drone crossing the border, or a provocation such as the one that took place on the Polish railways, is a test by the Russian side of how resilient we are and how far the Russian side can go in generating chaos in Poland. And now it is crucial how firmly and decisively Poland responds. The latest activities of Russian-recruited saboteurs in Poland show the disturbing passivity of the services under the supervision of Donald Tusk's coalition government, and the threat is very serious. This is another element that needs to be seen in a broader context, that is, the scale of such activities, the scale of proxy agency activation, a certain bravado, the audacity with which the Russians are taking these actions against NATO countries, because it concerns not only Poland, but also Romania, Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia. Yesterday, traffic at Vilnius airport was temporarily suspended after suspicious balloons appeared in the airspace near the airport. This is part of a whole series of hybrid attacks on airports in Europe, in Lithuania, the Czech Republic, and also in Germany, Belgium and Denmark. Of course, whether it is NATO or Poland as a country, they should have the ability to act more harshly towards the Russian Federation or its allies like Belarus, because in the East, only one language is understood, the language of force. According to the British Financial Times, the North Atlantic Alliance is considering taking much more aggressive hybrid operations against Russia, which uses its provocations in various ways. For example, during its regular Zapad maneuvers, it leaves some of its equipment close to its borders. This was the case before the attack on Ukraine, and the Kremlin is also gathering forces in the Kaliningrad region, which borders Poland. Hence NATO's firm decisions. NATO countries conduct regular intelligence and reconnaissance activities directed against Russia or in relation to what is happening in Belarus or Ukraine. We are talking here about flights, satellite activities and maritime activities. According to Politico, Brussels is even considering hybrid attacks against Russia. These include digital operations, conducting military maneuvers without prior announcement, and a coordinated response to Russian disinformation. Everything is to take place under the umbrella of NATO. NATO and NATO countries are unable to find a way to effectively deter Russia from acting against NATO countries, because today we are already facing a series of provocations aimed at NATO countries, which clearly shows that deterrence mechanisms are not working. Only coordinated action with the help of American troops stationed on the eastern flank of the alliance can deter the Kremlin's nefarious activities.